What's going on, everyone? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another MLB recap. I just got back from my vacation and I needed it because I was feeling a little bit burnt out, but I'm so happy that I took 48 to 72 hours off because so much happened. I didn't watch a single second of baseball the last few days, so when I got to my script this morning and saw how many things changed in the standings, my mind was blown, and I'm so excited to cover the last 2 months of the season. So if this is your first time on the channel, we do this every single day, so don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, as well as use code Fuzzy to save 20 bucks on SeatGeek if you're going to any minor league games or big league games. Save yourself 20 bucks off because the last 2 months of the season are going to be wild. Moving on over to a story that shocked me. So I didn't watch any baseball, but I do have Twitter alerts turned on for Jeff Passan, the reporter, and out of nowhere, as I was driving to California for my vacation, it popped up saying that Ramon Laureano, he's one of my good friends. I've actually had an interview with him a couple different occasions. He's a good guy, just unfortunately, he got popped for PEDs. Now, of course, everyone who comes out with PEDs says that. I didn't know it was in there, but I mean, how many times does that come out where it's like, it's actually not their fault? So even though I like the guy, I do have to hold him accountable. He is going to be suspended for the next 80 games. Now, luckily for the A's, we're going to recap the game in just a moment. They traded for Starling Marte, and he has been a monster. So real quick, before we talk about the last little story, Luis Robert coming back to the White Sox, let's break down the A's game because they had a good time playing the Rangers yesterday. Jed Lowry drives in Starling Marte, and Sean Murphy adds 2 more after a replay shows that Josh Harrison was in fact safe at home plate. Seth Brown goes almost 450 feet, and Jed Lowry comes in big time yet again with a bases loaded walk to put the A's at 5-1, and James Caprillion was sensational. Maybe sensational is an overstatement because he allowed 2 earned runs in 6 innings, but that was still a quality start nonetheless. Starling Marte, I just want to mention, has a .425 batting average with 2 home runs and 7 stolen bases in 9 games with the A's. So the A's are 2 games back of Houston for first place after winning 4 games in a row, and honestly, that Marte trade might be the biggest of the deadline. Yes, more than Anthony Rizzo, more than Joey Gallo, because now that Ramon is going to be out for the remainder of 2021, Marte, he's going to have to step his game up, and he's doing exactly that. So I hinted at it a few seconds ago. Luis Robert, Bobber as we call him, he is back, and I cannot wait. If you guys don't remember, he is a 5-tool superstar in the making. He can field, he can run, he can throw, he can hit for average, as long as he can keep the strikeouts down. But yes, I truly believe that Luis Robert is going to be a superstar for the next decade. He has that amount of talent. So the White Sox were playing the Cubs yesterday. Tim Anderson, on the very first pitch of the game, he attacks it and leaves the yard, and then Eloy Jimenez adds a 2-run shot versus his former team. If you don't remember, he was given to the Chicago White Sox in the Jose Quintana trade. Andrew Vaughn, a few weeks ago, he was not in the Rookie of the Year conversation, but he has been a man amongst boys lately. He hits a 2-run shot, and then Eloy, he adds 2 more RBIs on this double to make it 7-0, and then Eloy adds his 5th RBI in the 5th inning as Dylan Cease strikes out 10 in 5 innings. He was not his best self. He allowed 3 earned runs, but 10 strikeouts in 5 innings, that is pretty solid. Andrew Vaughn drives in another. He now has 13 home runs, 37 RBIs, and a 117 OPS plus. So he's still behind Akil Baddoo, Eric Haas, Luis Garcia, Adolis Garcia for Rookie of the Year, but he's been playing great. Also, Randy Arozarena is in that conversation too. So this is where my jaw kind of dropped after coming back home from vacation and seeing what happened to the Mets over the weekend. So yesterday, we saw Philadelphia retire number 34 that was worn by one of my favorite players of all time, Doc Holliday. So Gene Segura, he hits a home run to put the Phillies up 1-0. And then a few minutes later, JT Realmuto goes the other way as Zach Wheeler makes a fantastic barehanded play in the 4th inning. And Bryce Harper, MVP candidate, Bryce Harper now has 20 home runs and almost 170 OPS plus. And Zach Wheeler, he throws a complete game shutout against his former team. And at one point, he retired 22 hitters in a row. The last Philadelphia Philly pitcher to retire 22 or more hitters in a row, Doc Holliday. So the Phillies are now on an 8-game winning streak. They're 2 games ahead of Atlanta, so the Mets are now a 3rd place team. Maybe me leaving my house was all that the Phillies needed because the Mets kind of imploded. So we just talked about the Braves being in 2nd place, and that's because they beat the Nationals yesterday by a score of 5-4. Ozzie Albies versus a left-handed pitcher. It's essentially a cheat code, and Max Fried fried up the Nationals offense yesterday. Only 1 earned run on 5 strikeouts in 6 innings. Austin Riley drives in another RBI, and Adam Duvall, the newcomer, I put that in quotations because he was on Atlanta last year. He goes to Miami, but then he comes back, so he's very familiar with that ballpark. He goes 420 feet, and like I mentioned, the Braves are now in second place, 2 games back of the Phillies, as the Mets fall to third place. Another division that is going to be crazy for the rest of the year, the American League East. The Rays, they beat up the Baltimore Orioles, even though Cedric Mullins joins the 2020 club. That is 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases. You have Brandon Lowe driving in an RBI in the 3rd, and then Austin Meadows hits a home run in the 4th inning, but the Rays offense, they were not done just yet. You have Brett Phillips hitting a solo shot in the 7th. That was followed up by Wander Franco driving in a run on a bases-loaded walk, and then the game was tied up after Yandy Diaz did his thing in the 8th inning, and Brett Phillips does it again. His 2nd home run of the game is a grand slam, and the Rays are now on a 4-game winning streak and a whopping 4 games ahead of the Boston Red Sox. Now, speaking of the Boston Red Sox, I thought they had a guaranteed win yesterday against Toronto. I mean, it was all Boston for the first 4 innings. They scored 7 runs before the end of the 4th inning as Kevin Plawecki and JD Martinez drove in 6 RBIs combined, but then Vladdy Jr. with this 2-run shot completely shifted the momentum. That was number 35 on the year, so he's just 2 behind Shohei Ohtani. Marcus Semien and Teoscar Hernandez, they bring the deficit to just 2 runs, and Springer, he takes advantage of it. A 3-run Springer dinger gives the Toronto Blue Jays the lead, so he now has 28 home runs in his last 95 games. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and then when you compare that to the Boston Red Sox, they have lost 8 games in a row, and they are 4 games back of the Tampa Bay Rays. So I guess if you're a Red Sox fan, you can have some hope and say to yourself, well, we've been good all of 2021. Now we've hit our rough stretch, which is good to have it now as opposed to in the playoffs. So maybe the Red Sox, this is their time to lose all their ball games and get it out of their system, and they're about to go on a run. It could very well happen. The Mariners versus the Yankees. Anthony Rizzo unfortunately had to go on the IL list, and they replaced him with Luke Voit, and Luke Voit was able to make a fantastic play. He dives and gets the out over at first base. Both Gil and Yusei Kikuchi threw 5 shutout innings yesterday. Gil has been fantastic in his first 2 starts to begin his career. Aaron Judge unfortunately can't make a play in right, and Jared Kelenic, he got thrown out for the first time. Usually rookies don't get thrown out, but he was K'd up on a ball at his eyeballs. Gallo saves the game momentarily by tossing out a runner at home plate. He leads all of baseball now. Actually, he's 2nd in baseball behind Hunter Renfroe for outfield assists, but Paul Sewald and Steckenrider of the Mariners, they shred up the Yankees and they win 2-0, and they're 5.5 games back of the wild card spot. So again, the AL East, the NL East, and the wild card for both leagues, it is going to be a crazy mad dash to the finish to end the season. We have the Dodgers versus the Angels. Max Muncy drives in Trey Turner, and then Trey shows off the wheels. He makes it 3-0 on his speed. He scores all the way from first on a base hit to the shortstop. You have Albert Pujols tagging Reed Detmers for 5 earned runs. Reed has not been good to begin his career, and Buehler, he lowers his ERA to 2.13 after tossing 1 earned run ball in 6 innings on 8 strikeouts. Bellinger, he's starting to heat up, a home run in back-to-back games as Justin Bruheel, I don't know how to say his last name, but he has 2 strikeouts in his MLB debut to close out that game. The Padres versus the Diamondbacks, you have Jake Cronenworth driving in the first run of the game, and then he makes an insane play at shortstop. You can play him wherever you want, and then he follows it up with a home run. So he pretty much saved San Diego yesterday. He has 16 home runs and a 4.1 WAR already on the season. Blake Snell was nearly unhittable, 7 shutout innings, only 2 hits on 13 strikeouts. He has 19 strikeouts and only 1 earned run in his last 12 innings pitched. And Melanson, he converts his 33rd save as San Diego is still 2.5 games ahead of the Reds for 2nd place in the wild card. Darren Ruff has been insane for the Giants dating back to 2020. Omar Narvaez of the Brewers, he answers back with a 2-run shot, and Colton Wong makes it 3-1. Brett Anderson was dialed in, just unfortunately he had to get taken out after 5 innings, only allowed 1 earned run, and San Francisco, they answered back with a sac fly and then a 2-run bomb for Brandon Belt, who extends his hitting streak to 13 games, knock on wood, and Tommy LaStella gives the Giants a 5-4 victory after Tony Watson and Little, I'm not sure how you say his last name, they throw 3 no-hit innings, and San Francisco is 31-41, 4 games ahead of the Dodgers for first place. We have the Reds versus the Pirates. Joey Joey Votto ties it up at 1 apiece, and Tyler Stevenson grounds out for an RBI, and Kyle Farmer has been stupid since the beginning of July. You have Ke'Bryan Hayes going 403 feet, and I wanted to talk about him because he's been somewhat disappointing after breaking out in 2020. Brian Reynolds with another nice catch in center field, but Tyler Mahle was fantastic. 10 strikeouts in 7 innings as Lorenzen and Givens throw 2 no-hit innings for the save, and the Reds are now 10-2 in their last 12 games. The Royals faced off against the Cardinals, was a very back-and-forth game. Carlson lifts off to give the Cardinals an early lead, but then John Lester, who was great, implodes in the 4th and 5th innings to allow 5 runs to Kansas City. I just don't think that he's good anymore, in my opinion. Ryan O'Hearn makes it 5-1, but then the Cardinals, they're known to fight back. They battle all the way to tie it up, and then Nicky Lopez plays some hero ball with an RBI single, and Lovelady, he has been really good the last couple weeks, strikes out 2. The Twins versus the Astros, Trevor Larnach drives an RBI, and Miguel Sano goes to the train tracks in the 4th inning. Jorge Polanco, who has been the best hitter in baseball in the second half, he hits home run number 19, and then home run number 20 on a 3-run shot. He has a 341 batting average, 8 home runs, 18 RBIs in 21 second half games, and Alex Colomé, he gets his 5th save of the year. Cleveland versus the Tigers, you have Franmil driving an RBI that was immediately answered back with a 3-run shot for Derek Hill. That was his first of his career. Owen Miller hits a home run, and then Andres Jimenez, this sacrifice fly starts a 3-run 4th as Austin Hedges as well as Ernie Clement, they tie it up. Then you have Bradley Zimmer hitting a 2-run home run to give Cleveland a 7-5 lead, and the bullpen holds it. I just want to mention Zimmer, in terms of the batting average, is not very good, but he has a 355 on base percentage over his last 74 games. James Karinchak does his thing, and then Emmanuel Clase closes it for his 16th save. Clase is in the Rookie of the Year conversation as well. And then last but not least, the Home Run Derby was back in Colorado yesterday. CJ Cron hits a 3-run jack. Then Dom Nunez and Connor Joe both homer as well. CJ wasn't done yet. He hits a grand slam for a grand total of 7 RBIs in yesterday's game. Sam Hilliard wants in on the action, so he hits a home run. And then Connor Joe hits home run number 2, so that was his first multi-home run game in his career. And so far in 2021, he has a 303 batting average and a 123 OPS plus. Also, Trevor Story is almost hitting 450 in the second half, so the Rockies, they're not terrible. All right, everyone, well, that does it for today's MLB recap. I can't believe that we were gone for 2 days, but it felt like 100. So much changed over the last 48 to 72 hours, but thank you all so much for watching, and enjoy this day in MLB history.
Here's the 2-1. Swing and a long one. This one is way back. It is